A very good evening to you. I'm Pearson Bowen. A locked auditorium greeted National Union of Public Workers officials when they tried to meet with their members at the Barbados Community College this morning. It is the latest development as rising tension between the union and the BCC's management threatens to escalate into industrial action. Ron Brathwaite has that story.
NUPW General Secretary Dennis Clark is accusing BCC management of holding staff to ransom. This comes after a scheduled meeting at the college was abandoned because union officials and staff found the auditorium where it was to be held locked. Mr. Clark says they had to assemble outside and have scheduled another meeting for 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. He says there are many issues at the BCC that have to be thrashed out.
There's a plethora of problems that we want to discuss, but they want to force a public confrontation, and I'm not backing down. I don't care who write and talk about me. We are not backing down because we are trying to ensure that there is justice at the college. So that is where it is at. If tomorrow nothing happens, well, we will got to look and see where do we go from there.
Mr. Clark contends that by its actions, BCC's management has shown scant regard for its staff. Among the contentious matters the union wants to discuss are contracts of part-time tutors and possible layoffs. Mr. Clark believes that because of the outstanding issues, the tutors and students are not benefiting fully from the institution.
We have made several contacts in certain areas to see if we could get common sense to prevail in this matter, and it seems as though there's a lack of interest, you name it. What we know from all the information we get from the part-time tutors and tutors, the education of the children at the BCC is being undermined, and they are not getting the necessary type of, if you want to say, full benefits of an institution of that nature.
Mr. Clark adds that strike action is not out of the question, but they are willing to meet with management and find solutions to prevent the situation from deteriorating to that level. Ron Brathwaite, CBC News.
Efforts to reach BCC principal Dr. Gladstone Best proved futile. News from the Senate now. Barbados is projecting a modest 1% increase in tourism over the last few months of this year. That means 3,100 more visitors will be coming here. These figures from Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Senator Irene Sandiford-Garner, as she led off debate in the Senate on the Tourism Development Bill 2014. Senator Sandiford-Garner says the higher numbers are based on significant increases in airlift from almost all of Barbados' airline partners.
We are going to be seeing a decline still of 2%, 2.4%, because remember we're only replacing 76% of what we lost, but it's far better than the 8% drop which was forecast for December of 2013. So we are making incremental steps back. But I like to always say we are clawing our way back each time.
Senator Sandiford-Garner says government also shifted its focus when the American Airlines pulled its New York leg service and beefed up its investment in the UK.
The UK market provides the long-stay visitors and the long-stay visitors who spend more. Therefore, if we were to lose airlift from the United States, we had to make back that revenue by finding a market that would bring us long-stay visitors and bring us long-stay visitors who spend, who would then build back our revenue base, and it worked. Because for the first 7 months of 2013, our receipts would have been $420 million US, and we would have record for 2012, and for 2013 we recognize our revenues went up to $720 million US, an increase of $300 million by taking that step.
The senator says arrivals out of CARICOM will remain low because LIAT has opted to use smaller aircraft. She says, however, there is a new arrangement with Tobago in regard to the Brazil route. Tobago, according to the senator, will pay 35% of the flight cost and take 35% of passengers. While the concessions for the hotel sector are welcomed, although they have been long in coming, this assessment from opposition Senator Wilfred Abrams, who says that other players in the industry need help and a level playing field is needed across the sector. Mr. Abram was contributing to the debate on the Tourism Development Bill 2014. He says, too, it's clear that government was not looking at the big picture when it drafted the amendments to the legislation, and that it should be pressured to ensure that players are given the same benefits.
In the case where tourism is our business, tourism is the linchpin of the Barbadian economy. The tourism sector is what drives the economy of Barbados and probably employs the majority of people in Barbados after government. Then we should not be playing ad hoc with this legislation. This legislation was amended solely because of the outcry in relation to the consideration and the concessions given to sandals. Another thing, ma'am, it makes no provision for the modern financing arrangements which are necessary to develop new attractions, and the amendment is too narrow.
Mr. Abrams suggests the amendments to the legislation are meant to silence people who are complaining about the number of concessions being given to sandals, and is worried that the concessions for food and beverages will provide challenges for local industries.
We face stiff competition in the regional market with respect to long-stay visitors, and the reality is only our European markets are holding steady. So if we really want to be competitive, when we look to amend our Tourism Development Act, we should look not only at the hotel industry, we should look at our tourism product. The hotel industry is but one facet in our overall tourism product.
Well, we are hearing tonight about better protection for local frontline workers against the deadly Ebola virus. News is that government has ordered upgraded PPE or personal protective equipment in line with new international health regulations. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Joyce St. John gave the details on Morning Barbados as she spoke about the island's continued Ebola preparations.
On the 20th of this month, CDC upgraded the guidelines for the personal protective equipment. So we now have hoods over the head so that there is so no skin is exposed. So we've upgraded our ordering through PAHO and also through our own direct ordering, because we're doing 2 sets of ordering to incorporate those changes in the guidelines. In terms of protection, apart from having them, it is the training and retraining, and there are also systems. So you have a buddy system so that people can be monitored while they're putting them on and taking them off. That's when most of the breaches occur.
Health Minister John Boyce says we have reached a point where every Barbadian must get some type of medical insurance. He says, while the state still has a responsibility to provide health care to its citizens, Barbadians will soon have to take some of the responsibility given the rising costs.
By doing this, you can ease the burden on the hospital to provide these services. We are committed in Barbados to, they use the term free healthcare service, but we know what that means. It means that the government has to provide the funds for this program. The insurance companies are in the business of dealing with these kind of challenges, and they do their statistics and they make their decisions. So I think Barbadians need to be encouraged in whatever small way to start making sure that they avail themselves of good health insurance that will allow them to pay for these services when they reach an older age.
Mr. Boyce says government still has plans for a new hospital, but he has made it clear that government is committed to maintaining the QEH in the interim. Veteran GIS television cameraman, former CBC board member and tent manager Roy Beyer is dead. He passed away just after midday today at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Beyer, who had been ill for some time, was 69. Earlier this month, after visiting Mr. Beyer in hospital, Culture Minister Stephen Lashley described him as one of those committed Calypso stalwarts who made a difference to the development of many of our treasured Calypsonians. Mr. Beyer was a founding member of the Kingdom of the Super Gladiators Calypso tent, which operated at the Village Gate at Waterford. During the tent's 25th anniversary last year, Mr. Beyer promised to continue to promote the art form despite a drop in sponsorship, saying the show must go on.
And everybody is crying out that times are tough. Well, we know that. That's the reason why we're super glad here, is because the times will be tough. And despite the fact that we do not have the sponsorship, we shall continue, because nothing will stop us from going where we want to go. It didn't stop us for the first 24 years. It's not going to stop us for this particular year either. We shall continue.
Roy Byers survived by 2 sons, a daughter, and his partner, Valmay Bend. More news ahead in just a moment, but first we'd like to hear from you on this question. Should health insurance be mandatory for every Barbadian? Text yes or no to the short code 8111. We'll share the results at the end of the news.
Will be 4 outstanding nights of dance, music and theatre during the 2014 NIFCA Performing Arts Finals at the Frank Conomo Hall on Friday, October 31st, then continuing from Sunday the 2nd to Tuesday the 4th of November from 7 p.m. each night as our island's amazing artists go for the gold. Join us on Thursday, October 31st for the Sagicor Junior Finals, Sunday, November 2nd for the Scotiabank Dance Finals, Monday, November 3rd for the Digicel Music Finals, and Tuesday, November 4th for the Digicel Theatre Arts Finals. Adults $25, children 4 to 12, $10. Box offices at the NCF, ticketpal.com, CS Pharmacy, A&B Sounds, Emerald City Supermarket, and Ticket Center Massey Stores Warrens. NIFCA, the tradition of excellence continues. Visit ncf.bb for further details.
The Ebola virus disease is a rare and often deadly disease. You can only get Ebola from touching the bodily fluids of a person who is sick with or has died from Ebola, or from contact with infected animals or contaminated objects like needles. Ebola. Know the facts.
The search for a Barbadian couple missing at sea is over. Arthur Allen and his wife Sharon have been found. CBC understands that the two are back in St. Lucia where they started. No other details were available up to news time. The couple left St. Lucia on Saturday, headed for Barbados, and had not been in contact with anyone since around 2 in that afternoon. The massive search was conducted, including resources from the regional security system. Health Minister John Boyce is reviewing draft legislation to regulate the use of e-cigarettes. News of this during a 2-day workshop on tobacco taxation for CARICOM countries, which began yesterday at the Pan American Health Organization. Minister Boyce told delegates that the decision to amend the legislation was taken in response to a recent WHO report on the use of the e-cigarette. He said the report highlighted evidence suggesting that exhaled e-cigarette aerosols increased the background air level of some toxicants, nicotine, and particles. As a consequence, the WHO has advised that legal steps be taken to end e-cigarette use indoors, in public, and workplaces. Digicel Barbados has teamed up with the Ellerslie Secondary School to revamp and upgrade its information technology department. They've launched the Corey Wood Mentorship Program in memory of the former Ellerslie head boy and switch engineer at Digicel, who died suddenly at the age of 29 earlier this year. It is understood that Digicel will be outfitting the unit with computers, air conditioning, and other supplies to better prepare students for the world of work. Senior engineer at Digicel, Carrie Farnham, says Ellerslie has been one of the top performing schools in information technology in Barbados for some time now.
The rationale behind this program is not only to give students some insight into IT-related career paths, but also to allow them to gain perspective by letting them engage with members of our team here at Digicel who will be sharing their individual experiences. Over the next 4 weeks, students will have the chance to interact with members of the technical team who represent the following areas of expertise: radio frequency and transmission, switching, mobile data services, operations and maintenance, and IT. Our head of human resources will also be on hand to provide students with some tips to help prepare them for the world of work.